Welcome to the Yes or No
Oh my God.
podcast. Today's topic is going to be privacy rights. We'll go around the table and introduce everyone first. Starting on my left.
I'm Alex.
I'm Madison.
I'm Chloe.
I'm Linus.
I'm Max.
And I'm Anthony. Madison is here. She just does not want to be put on camera, so she's not.
I'm also here.
You're on camera.
Yeah, it's...
You're the actual camera.
Oh my god, I really am not in it.
You said you didn't want to.
Okay.
So, privacy rights. What do we want to talk about first? Does anyone have something they're passionate about? Or Madison? You just look like you had something, so.
I am passionate about privacy and the surveillance of the government.
Surveillance of the
In
government
what way?
or surveillance of the people?
Of
by
people
the
by
government?
the government.
Okay.
Sorry.
So you're in support of it?
And no,
No,
she's
I
against government surveillance.
Yes.
So what kind of surveillance are you talking about here?
With what animals or-
microphones,
I think
cameras,
Birds.
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 Go into it a little bit.
That's fascinating. So what about birds?
My PowerPoint is not loading right now, so
That's
other than that I would have had like facts, but basically the movement is called Birds Aren't Real. And
this is like an actual organization.
Yes, like
Do you know where they're based out of?
She donates money to them.
Not anymore, but I used to, yes. If you don't stand for something, what do you fall for?
Did you really just quote
I
Hamilton?
did. They're based out of California.
That tells me everything I need to know.
That was not me.
That's the Birds Aren't Real jingle.
Basically, originally the movement was about like ending the mass killing of birds and replacing them with robots that watch you.
Is it like a specific species of birds?
No,
Or?
U.S. birds. So
Okay,
all birds.
just United States is doing
US
this?
birds.
So like
Or is
Canadian
it-
geese when they come down here, those
They're
are
real.
real?
Yeah, leader Peter Mickendow, he was on 60 Minutes. He's been on several reputable news sites. And
Now,
people want to hear what he has to say.
on reputable news sites, but is he reputable?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome. Yeah. The CIA was founded in 1947, and that was their purpose to collect and analyze intelligence.
Foreign
Watching-
intelligence, but yes.
Huh?
Foreign intelligence, but yes.
I mean, this website said otherwise. But anyways, but from 1959 to 1971, 15% of the bird population was wiped out. I'm just saying that birds are the cameras too.
but like
What makes
what?
birds better than like
Right.
literally our own phones?
They
that
can
we
fly.
carry
They
on
are
us?
flying.
Okay, but
and
I have
you
my
would-
phone in my pocket.
I think
I'm just
everyone's on the
saying-
same side.
So
Like,
we're
my
gonna
stance
move the
of-
podcast off the birds.
Yeah, let's keep going.
I think to start the real conversation here, to talk
You know
about
what aren't
privacy
real?
rights, we have to know what
Birds.
privacy rights are. Do we all know what those are as defined by?
No, I actually have a
dictionary.
definition.
Okay,
Here we
let's
go,
hear
here we
your
go.
definition because I have one as well.
It's not like a definition necessarily, but it's like the question was how does the 14th Amendment protect privacy? And it says the Supreme Court, however, beginning as early as 1923 and continuing through its recent decisions, has broadly read the liberty guarantee of the 14th Amendment to guarantee a fairly broad array of privacy that has come to encompass decisions about child rearing, marriage, and termination.
So I have privacy rights. To start, my source is the Nolos Plain English Law Dictionary, used widely by many law schools. Privacy rights are the right to not have one's personal matters disclosed or publicized, the right to be left alone. So we talked about the government. The other part of that is the, like private industries selling your information for whatever purpose, whether it's so that people can advertise to you or steal your social security, whatever.
So like I've said this all along. Like when the whole vaccine debate came about, when people were like, oh, there's gonna be a microchip in me or this and that, they're gonna be able to track me. Okay, if you got nothing to hide, who cares?
Yeah.
You're already getting tracked with your phone.
Mhm.
It's like I know that like whatever I'm doing on a day-to-day basis like literally means nothing to the government. So it's like if I get a microchip in me, I really could care less.
Mhm.
So it's like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not like a huge terrorist. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just an
Yeah.
everyday average guy. You know what I mean? So it's like
You're above average to me, buddy.
thanks.
So, as recently as October of 2019, the FBI was actually taken to two separate courts where they were caught seizing emails sent by people to whoever. And these were included as government officials, government workers, and private officials, like private workers. and they were taking these intercepting these emails without warrants, and they were taken to a foreign intelligence surveillance court, and then also the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court of Review. Now, this was both good and bad because the FBI violated thousands of people's privacy rights, hacking into their emails and whatever have you. But it's also good because it showed that our system for catching when agencies aren't following the rules works.
Mm-hmm.
So my source for that also is the Brennan Center for Justice, in case you were wondering.
Great source.
So, do you have something?
I do have something to say. So I'm going to read off 2 of my bullet points, and I just want to see what people have to say about it. So 70% of people believe that the government was using their surveillance for more than anti-terrorism efforts, and the NSA had a secret order that empowered them to force Verizon, which has 98.9 million wireless customers, and AT&T, which has 107 million wireless customers, to turn over all call records.
And I am a Verizon plan
I'm sorry, I'm
carrier.
recovering from the fact AT&T
I'm
has
also
more than
Verizon.
Verizon.
Yeah.
I am also a
AT&T is
Verizon
better.
user,
So,
but I don't have anything to
You're
hide.
an
I don't
AT&T
care.
guy?
But like,
I also
do-
think like the right to privacy thing. Again,
So-
no one has anything to hide. Well, not no one, but like majority of ordinary Americans don't have anything to hide. But they kind of get swept up in that whole, like, I
This
still
is
just
my
want
privacy.
But yeah, I
you
think
know?
we should definitely have a right to our own
So
privacy.
is privacy then a human right?
Yes.
Yes.
But then it does privacy, like, where can they stop?
Where's the line?
Where's the
Like,
threshold?
where's the line? Because like, it does do good. Like, 25 days after the Boston Marathon, like, the government was able to now snoop in on calls without like suspicion of terrorism. So they could do it without suspicion. So it's like, okay, then you have like 9/11 and stuff like that. So it's like, where do you draw the line between terrorism and like, just like the everyday right kind of thing?
And I think that comes along with like the territory still being new. Like the major terrorist attack was only 21 years ago. Like we're still very new to this. We're still like trying to work out kinks. So I feel like as time progresses and we get better at it, hopefully, maybe they'll use other methods that don't encroach on everyone's privacy. I don't know.
So I found this pretty fascinating. Up until 1967, you could not request information about public records from the government. So after 1967,
Even though it's public?
yep,
Well, then it's not public.
exactly. So
Why
that was
they-
the argument made.
Yeah.
So that was interesting because like public rec, like if like the what's his name, the governor's, her name I should say. Yeah. Her birth certificate becomes public record as soon as she starts to run for office. So if I wanted that information, I could get it. However, now that comes into play with FBI, ATF, CIA, NSA, when you can request what information they're gathering on you. There was a trend on TikTok where you could see if like you were on a FBI watch list or something.
Like, what is on a birth certificate that's like
Significant.
private? Yeah, like
Social security number.
it's on
So
your
that becomes.
certificate.
So that becomes public. So like I could just have like
Date of birth.
They might,
And stuff like that.
black that out. I haven't checked,
They,
but
they
that
must because that's your identity. Like,
Right. You can't just like have Kathy Hochul's social security number.
Yeah. So another interesting case that I found was I'm gonna butcher this, Pottswatomie versus Earls. It took place in 2001. So in the 70s, we all know drugs were a massive problem,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Especially on like the western side of things. So then in the late 90s, it was still very predominant, and even now I think we can all attest that drugs are still a pretty big problem in schools. So this school district decided that it was going to randomly drug test students in extracurricular activities. Only those participating in extracurriculars, sports or clubs. So eventually parents complained, citing it was an overstep and a violation of their children's privacy.
Mm-hmm.
The Supreme Court, guess what they ruled? It was not a violation of privacy. they ruled 5-4, saying that it was a constitutional act.
To
Under
drug
what?
test people? How old were they? Residents?
High school students.
I get where they're coming from.
So-
like, because like, go ahead.
No, go.
School sports is like something that you sign up for and you like become a part of, and I know that it's like a public thing, but like also like at the beginning of like sports you sign a contract and like you abide by
I
the
can
law.
confidently say I did not sign that contract the past 3 years.
But-
I've
I know,
played
Yeah,
but like
sports.
you're
like-
supposed to.
Like a
You're
club,
supposed
though?
to
You're
sign.
telling me
Even
I'm in a
club,
math
like so,
club,
if
I
I'm
do
in
drug
math
tests.
club, you could randomly get drug
But,
tested.
like,
the bigger
I
issue
didn't
too
know-
is that it's not for like performance enhancing drugs like in
Yeah, any
Not like
sports.
dope, yeah.
It's like
Marijuana.
marijuana or like not even performance enhancing, just
Yeah, it's
drugs.
legal now.
Well, like,
Legal now, it wasn't legal in 2001.
Right.
but
I
like,
think it again falls underneath the whole
So-
like how Max said he sees where they're coming from, and the method is bad. Well,
But-
not bad, flawed, but
The argument then came to be that, especially by two judges, and I forgot their names, but they said that by testing just extracurricular students, you actually discourage them from
Doing-
playing those sports or whatever, which could then lead them down a darker path. Instead of, smoking pot on the weekends, now they're doing it every day.
Right.
yeah.
And that
Right.
can lead to other issues if they don't know
couldn't
how to
be in
handle
the
it.
team they wanted to be in.
Right.
Yeah.
Then I get like it's
Whereas
legal,
if-
you shouldn't be and you signed
Yeah.
the contract, but
So
That's a clear
this is
violation.
even more interesting when just prior in 1997, a Supreme Court case said that Georgia political office candidates could not be drug tested.
couldn't.
Could not.
So they're saying pretty much like the government people can't. but,
Can't be
like,
tested.
But like everyone
but
else.
everyone
can.
else can.
Right.
Messed up, man.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Students who are taking extra time and effort
Like
to
to-
further themselves in a
they're
club or
trying to
sport.
You
better
shouldn't drug
themselves.
test a
Right.
high school student.
Right.
Yeah.
No matter, regardless.
I mean, like, I understand.
and also can a drug test? I mean, cut you off, but a drug test can come back like
false
False
positive,
positive.
false
false
positive,
negative.
or also like if you're on like medication, like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
people can like come
Not
up
me,
positive
swear.
for different things, but like I'm sure
Yeah.
they're not great tests. I'm sure it's just like
Especially if it's the government behind
yeah,
them.
they're not
Mm.
gonna be like some great like it'll say what it is test. It's gonna
Yeah.
be like
And in addition, another opinion was there's many ways around drug tests.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
true. I do have one thing to say though. I was just talking about the vaccine, and I just got a notification from my New York State wallet, which
That's
holds my
weird.
vaccine. And if that doesn't just show you that like they're listening to us,
Oh, yeah,
and
it's,
they're
like, it's phone tapping.
Yeah,
It's
like-
way,
like that
So
just-
we all firmly believe the government has access to our
Oh
phone.
yeah.
100%.
Like,
100%.
you ever
Like-
like talk about something like
And
Yeah.
you
like
get
just
an
like
ad for it.
yeah, and you get an ad for it right away because
But
like,
is that the government or is that just Apple trying to get you
Right.
to buy shit?
but,
But also, if
Buy your vaccine.
where's yeah.
but either way, like whether it's like big corp or whether it's government, it's still scary.
It's so
Yeah, like-
weird.
It's
that,
still
like,
equally as
So,
scary.
I still wonder
And
like
Facebook is
how
admitted-
how many. I know people have access to my information, but like I wonder how many people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
A lot.
Right. And
Yeah, I mean, think about all those call centers in India. I don't know if you guys have been seeing it, but I've been seeing these TikToks where this guy, reverse traces those
Mhm.
call centers and then he just screws with them. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, your name's actually Priya and you're in Delhi.
Yeah, we will.
right here it says 49% of people
I'll cut that.
say that they are not confident in the government's ability to protect their data. Like
I'm
that's
sorry,
not
could you
How
read
many
that again?
percent?
49% of people in America they say like that they're not confident in the government's ability to protect their data from it being leaked.
From like foreign.
I think
Yeah,
they
from it being
can
legal, yeah.
protect it. I just don't think they do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think they have the resources. They just don't want to put the money into it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and think about it too. Like a lot of government officials are sponsored by companies, and so they're like, okay, well, if you overlook this, then we'll give you an extra such and such amount of money. You know.
Mhm.
But then their argument is always like, oh, it was in the fine print and you hit I agree. But there is times where it's not even in the fine print. Like,
Absolutely.
There's definitely like a lot of wordplay.
right. Like, you just, it's like,
Right, like they're trying to trick you.
Yeah.
I just have like I think this technology, like the way they tap the phones, that can be used for a lot of good things. Like it's kind of
Absolutely.
amazing technology, but it shouldn't be used to survey like every American to
Right.
find it. But if you can use it to stop a shooting, stop a bomb threat, stop a terrorist,
Like have
That's
like
awesome.
the key hit
So,
words,
yeah,
like
then-
buzzwords and stuff
but then
like that.
that's where you cross the line. Like how do you do that without looking into everybody's stuff?
Right.
Like the social media apps, like those what you just showed.
Right.
Like it's listening to you all the time.
All the
It
time.
knows what you like. It's gonna give you ads like of what you're talking about, what you're texting about.
Right.
They're getting like super advanced, which is it's scary, but it's
Right. Where it's like, if this is what it's like now, what's it gonna like for like our kids,
The
or like in
Yeah.
2030?
Other
Yeah.
biggest thing too is like, how many of you guys like schedule an appointment online or
Mhm.
fill
Or
out a
book
form
something,
online
yeah.
regarding your medical information?
Right.
You know, once it's online, it's online. No matter how
Mhm.
secured it is,
And
it's
it
still
can-
there
If it's
for
up there.
someone to figure
Yeah.
out how to access.
Right.
So like I saw a thing, and it was a conspiracy theory thing. So like it's obviously totally fake, but you know, China, right, our biggest competitor right now, as we've seen, Russia is not that big of a competitor. Could easily make, you know, study American, you know, healthcare and see what we lack in. Maybe we lack a certain, or we all have in common one thing that they could attack and wipe out a lot of people at once. So like, it's not even our own government, but other governments watching us and,
Mhm.
you know, really trying to figure out how to use that information to hurt America or help.
And also, a lot of American products, such as Apple products, are made in China, and like they're designed in California, but they're made in China. So obviously, you know, they have
Overlap
access.
somewhat.
Yeah, they have like access to access to that, and like they know how it works. So, like that also like plays a part, like how close they are to like being able to watch over us. You know.
And like I think about reading dystopian novels like 1984 or
That's good.
Fahrenheit 451. Like, why do you think like the worst case scenario of the society is when the government is watching everything you do?
Right.
It's
Every
privacy.
single like one, like
So-
even like the Hunger Games.
Yeah, it's
Like
the
all of them.
government.
Obviously, these are
No
just
privacy,
like yeah.
but
Obviously,
yeah.
these are just
Another example too, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Waco.
Yeah.
Those guys sat across the street in that house for days watching them, and they still entirely messed it up. And then the government tried hiding it, which obviously did not work out. But like the ATF is still famously known for, you know, privacy, not digitally but also physically, like just without warrants searching houses.
There's definitely an overstep.
We talked about a lot of issues. What would you say would be some solutions that could be made to help protect your privacy or others? I know one is like VPNs. I don't know exactly how much they help, but like I know my dad bought one and he uses it religiously. He doesn't use like YouTube or Google. He uses these other brands that say they
But that's
hide
the thing
your
too. Like they make
privacy
it so
rights.
hard. Part of me is just like, you know what? Let them have everything. Because
we're not doing anything wrong.
yeah,
Yeah. You don't care that like my info's out there, like with
it's
the government.
yeah,
but, like,
it's uncomfy. Like don't
I
get me wrong. But
I
at
don't
the
mind
same
that they
time,
have it.
it's
I just
like-
don't know what they're doing with it,
Yeah,
which makes
yeah.
me uneasy.
Right.
Like,
Like what was that one documentary and the guy who was like the whistleblower for
Edward
Snowden.
Facebook.
Snowden, like
Mhm.
things like that, like that's insane. Like the
Mhm.
laptop things and like I
Like,
have
they
a
could
tape over
see-
my laptop
I have
camera.
taped my
He's like
camera
what
too.
started this whole thing.
Yeah,
Right,
it is.
right.
like the Black Mirror. Has anyone watched Black Mirror? in
Yeah.
here? Like the Black Mirror episode where Shut Up and Dance, where like it was like the whole like camera and then like then he like forced him to like go in the woods and stuff.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's
like
there's
that's-
a movie too that's like about.
There's a
like,
lot of
goes
like movies and
through
stuff that
the
used, you know.
laptop.
And they're scary, right?
That's
like,
why-
Yeah, like I have tape for my camera and I've had tape since I was like middle school.
100%.
Because I was like scared that like I had like, a computer in my room, like I was scared of someone like watching me like change and like stuff like
See,
that.
I prefer to establish dominance, and I actually don't put tape over the camera and do like all of my daily duties, that whatever they are, and right in front of them, and I let them see it all.
We're like desensitized to it too. Like there's literally a camera right there,
Yeah.
and I know it's going nowhere. The feedback's going nowhere, but like,
Well,
It could be
Moritz
going
can
somewhere.
see it.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like
If he wants to see it, he can see it. He's
It's like how would people 100 years ago like they'd be like
feel about
they
that.
like if someone like from 100 years ago could like time travel now and they would
Well,
be like
Think
they'd be
about
like how are
the
you guys okay with
60s and 70s
They'd be like, how are you
wiretapping
guys
that
what
they
it
would do.
is.
Right.
Like-
They'd be
No.
like scared when we're
Like
just like
when
kinda,
they were
like,
wiretapping
so-
telephone poles
Yeah.
and like
We're
all
so
that,
numb
like
to
people
it.
were pissed.
Right.
There were riots in the
whereas
street.
I feel like we could literally be on a reality TV show, like Big Brother, like the show, like
I think
Big Brother,
part
and
of
we'd be
it
fine
is
'cause
we
there's like
just give out so much of our information ourselves. Like how often do you know, post on something and you're like, oh, such and such. And like at Disney, when we went to Disney, it was obvious that we were there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so you could,
Oh,
like
everyone
every picture you could tell. So the
Even
thing,
like location services.
Yeah.
location, but also like
Snap
even
map?
Yeah,
me.
Snap map.
It's
No,
crazy accurate. Like
SnapMap is a
more accurate than like the Apple one. I feel like sometimes, like seeing how like I'm moving, like
Mhm.
it shows you in a
And
it'll
any
be,
car,
it'll
see
be a
that.
car,
Or,
it'll
or
be
even
like,
or what about a service like
Planes.
Yeah.
Life
Crazy.
360? You know, I know there's a couple of us in media that are in like a little group, and you know I can see exactly when Max leaves his house. I get an alert on my phone. Max arrived at house 1. I have 2 houses, so house 1, and I'm like, oh well, he's taking Bella out, and then I'll get an alert like when Bella goes to like Wegmans, you know, and stuff like that. So, you know, what if someone just hacks that?
and
So-
I know that's like safety too. Like
Or-
the parents have it,
Yeah.
a little bit more like exploitation. But
But,
like,
like, it
it's
can be
safety,
used for
like, yeah,
anything.
like my kid is missing. They were last seen here.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's like if we can do this to each other, what can the
Yeah,
government
dude.
do
Yeah,
to
how-
us?
I don't mean to call you and Chloe out here, but like, how many times have you guys Instagram stalked someone and got all the information
Oh.
you wanted?
Easily.
It's easy.
Crazy how easy.
Instagram.
And that's just through
Right.
social media. Now imagine you had a
Snap,
network where
or-
you had access to anything on a person's phone.
Right.
Disco. I
This
list
week
goes
of my
on.
life.
You can find so much out. Like,
And again, it's
give
like
me a
it's-
name.
a lot
I'm
of it
there.
is willingly like being put out.
Right. You
or
posted
your
it.
friends. Like you look at the tag photos.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Are privacy rights needed? We'll do 2 questions. Are privacy rights needed? Right? We'll do that. And then, is there a threshold where government and industry can overstep?
Okay.
Alex, go ahead.
They are needed, but there's definitely an overstep right now. So if it was toned down, I would agree with it.
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes.
Privacy rights are, you said, are they needed?
Yeah.
Yes. And yes, there's an overstep.
Yes, they're needed, and yes, there is a overstep.
There we go.
There we go.
Welcome.
Clap it up.
Yeah.